Okay, my name is Shelby, and today I am interviewing Miss Tarbell. So, can you tell me your profession?
Yes, I teach high school English at Mount Pleasant High School. I teach 3 sections of AP Senior English, and I teach 3 sections of Freshman English.
Okay. Can you tell me how important effective oral communication is with your job?
It's probably one of the most important things about my job, oral communication. I have to make sure when I'm teaching that my students understand what point I'm trying to get across to them. And, well, I guess it's important as far as making sure I'm speaking clearly so they can, I'm articulating and I'm enunciating and they can physically hear me. But also that the content of what I'm saying, my words and sentences, make sense to the kids, and that we're on the same wavelength and they can understand the content and the concepts that I'm trying to get across to them. So that's huge, because if we don't have that communication with the kids, if they're not getting what I'm saying or I don't understand what they're saying, it's kind of a mess, because the teaching's not going on. And then also, it's important to communicate with the other adults in the building, with the principals, as far as it goes with kids and discipline, and just making sure that I'm talking to them about kids who need help or have issues, and they're communicating to us. And then a lot of the teachers too. A lot of times we kind of team up together, and if a kid's struggling or a kid, is behaving poorly, what can we do to help them or help them perform better? The special ed teachers, we try to communicate with them, and so they know what's coming up in class, and so that they can help the kids that need the extra help outside of the room, or outside of the classroom. So, yeah, it's pretty paramount, oral communication.
My research shows that when being effective in persuading others, a speaker must recognize that they may face difficulties and resistance from others. What has your job taught you about being effective in persuading others?
Well, let's see.
Maybe as far as persuading students to get excited about learning English, or getting involved in English-related activities and stuff.
Or the discussion or whatever. Yeah, I mean, you do have to kind of almost put on a performance, almost, as a teacher. Even when you're not having a good day, even when you're not happy, you have to come in and say, "Good morning, everybody. It's great to see you," and be, bubbly, and, persuade them that you're happy to be there, which usually you are. Don't get me wrong. You're usually happy to be there. But just sometimes, you're having a bad day and you don't feel like being bubbly, but you have to be anyway. So there's that, to try to be persuasive in your mood, so that rubs off on everybody else. Because if you come in and be like, "Hey guys," it just sets a tone for the class period. And then also, as far as like getting them involved in class discussion or getting them engaged in learning, getting them excited about what we're learning. Again, just me myself being excited and letting my love for the material kind of show through helps a lot, to kind of persuade them that this is cool or we like this. And then also just trying to think of different activities or just different assignments that will kind of draw them in and pull them in. Even if it's material is not something that they like necessarily, they can kind of get excited about it through an assignment where they get to do, something different than besides just write or read or something like that.
So you said that you teach seniors. Do you feel like you have to really try to persuade the seniors to stay on track when it's right about time for them to get out of here? Do you have to persuade them to stay focused?
Yes, I do, yes. Especially at the end of the year. When it gets to be April and May, it gets a lot harder to persuade them that this is important, you've got to finish this before you can graduate and move on. So it gets tougher as the year goes on. But a lot of the kids I have now are good students and they like to learn, and so it hasn't been too bad so far. But it will get more. I'll have to get more persuasive as the year goes on.
Yeah. Can you give me any examples or stories of when you had a hard time, or when you really felt like you had to kick up your persuasion skills with speaking in your job?
Okay, let's see. I've had a class or two. I mean, I'm thinking of, over the years, you always have a class or two that that just sort of resists what you want to do, resists the learning, resists the assignments, resists the reading or the writing. And so, you know, you just have to try your best to persevere through that and try to get them on board with what you're doing, and, you know, making sure that they know that it's important. They may not see why right now, but that it can help them later, and it'll help them graduate and college and things like that. Sometimes, like with the writing especially, I will sometimes pull out writing that I did, like at SCC or at University of Iowa, at, you know, 10 or 12 years ago, and I'll use that as an example just to show them that, see, you're going to have to do something like this. So, you know, just to kind of persuade them that this is important. I'm not doing this just for fun because I love to grade papers or because I want to make you suffer. That's not true. We're doing it to help you become better learners and readers and stuff like that. So
yes. Effective communication skills are said to be an important aspect of most every career. Do you agree with that statement?
Yeah, for sure.
How would your job be affected if you had really poor communication skills?
Well, the teaching would be terrible. I mean, I've had teachers in the past, and maybe you have too, and bosses in the past that they are not good at communicating. They just don't. You listen to what they say and you say, what? Either because they're literally their mouths and their voice is not communicating properly, or they're so garbled in what they say that you just think, what are they trying to tell me? Or they just are not good at it. Like, they don't tell you this. They forget to tell you to do this, or they forget to tell you about this meeting, or they tell you something 4 weeks ago and they don't give you a reminder or something like that. So what was the original question? Sorry.
Effective communication skills are said to be an important aspect of most every career, and how would your job be affected if you had poor communication skills?
Okay. So anyway, I think I said the teaching would be terrible. I mean, the kids would just be confused all the time, and you know, it would be hard to get a lot of the learning accomplished. Also, if your communication skills are not really well formed, if you're not very skilled, you can sometimes come off as, you know, ignorant or not very smart, really. Yeah. And I think that's pretty big with being a teacher. You want to make sure that you seem like you're a smart person, and you can put a thought together and you're articulate so that you have some credibility.
What about with students' parents? Do you ever run into problems trying to communicate effectively with them on what problems their student maybe is having, and do you think sometimes you have to step up the communication skills a little bit there?
Yeah, that's a good idea. I forgot about parents, but and sometimes we'll try to communicate through email, which that can get tricky too because of the tone and everything like that. But yeah, communicating with parents is another big part of the job, trying to make sure that they know what the kid's doing well or what's not going well. We just had conferences last week, so had a lot of communication with the parents last week. You know, and sometimes parents they don't understand school very well. You know, they've only remember what they went through. Yeah. And so you have to sort of like try to explain to them, you know, how things work and what the assignments mean and stuff like that. So, but yeah, that's a whole different, I forgot about parents, are a whole different kind of another form of communication with them.
I can see how that would be difficult.
It can be. Especially if they're mad about something. Or
that's what I was thinking. Or if the student is trying to give them a different story than you're trying to give them. Yes. So they might get frustrated.
Yeah. You know, and especially with the email, if they send me an email, you know, sometimes it can come off as sort of just curt or sort of, you know, terse, and I just always have to remind myself, okay, just you don't know what the tone was, you don't know what they were saying, you know, listening. And so I always just try to take it really nice and say, you know, thanks for writing, and just kind of try to keep it positive, kind of kill them with kindness sort of thing to keep it sort of low-key so nobody blows up or anything like that and gets freaked out. So,
since you've started teaching, have you learned any new techniques for being a good persuasive speaker? Do you have any examples of ways you've had to...
Oh, goodness.
Do you just feel like you're a better speaker since you've been teaching?
Yeah. I don't know so much about persuasive, I guess. I don't know so much about persuasive, but I mean, I teach persuasive writing, you know, with my students, and so there's different techniques we use with that. But I've definitely become a better just communicator, and just you know, trying to, when I teach each day, just my words and my ideas, I can just get those across better just with practice and having to communicate every day in front of like a little audience. Really, it really helps you to kind of polish those skills and become a more articulate speaker and teacher in a way. So.
I can see how kids would be a really tough audience.
Yes.
So when you first started teaching, did you feel a fear for public speaking? Do you think?
I did a little bit. I mean, I was never anybody who hated getting in front of a group. I mean, I'm actually a pretty reserved person, shy person, like in social situations and stuff. But, and I would get nervous. I mean, I still actually get nervous once in a while if I have to teach something new.
Yeah.
I still get nervous, and I still will practice like the night before if I. Getting all these secrets from the teachers. Like if I'm going to teach a new unit, when I was teaching Beowulf or, the Anglo-Saxons and stuff, and we'd have a PowerPoint, I would get that PowerPoint out the night before and I would go through it and I would be at home talking to myself, just saying it out loud. And I don't know that all teachers do that, but it helps. It helps you know what you want to say. And then when you get in front of the group, you remember, I said that. Okay, I want to say that again. That sounded good that way, or that was the way I wanted to say it. So.
I think a lot of people don't think of teachers having stage fright or fearing getting in front of a crowd because they do it every day.
Right.
But that's good to know.
Right.
That even teachers feel like they need to practice sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
So that they don't mess up.
Yes, for sure.
Because you're molding the minds of future generations, right?
Yeah. And
you can't flub.
No. And you don't want to get up there and say, well, I think the Anglo-Saxons, I did, you want to sound like you know it.
Yeah,
which
definitely.
Even as teaching, sometimes you don't know it because you just are learning it sometimes ahead of the kids if it's a new topic or a new class, and so it's tough to make sure even if you don't know 100%, you want to make sure you sound like it.
Yeah.
So you can persuade them that you're the expert.
Yes.
Even if you're not always 100% sure.
That's a really good example.
Yeah. So, and sometimes, if I have a group of kids that are a little more difficult, I have a couple freshman classes this year that are a little more difficult. So I'll get a little bit of, I don't know if I'd say stage fright, but just a little nervous having to get in front of them and thinking, okay, what's going to go wrong today? What kind of confrontations am I going to have and things like that. So,
do you have to give presentations in front of your coworkers? Do you feel like your communication skills, you have to switch them up a little bit when you're in front of your coworkers versus students?
Yeah. And I mean, there's so many teachers who say, I don't mind getting in front of the kids, but getting in front of, the rest of the teachers, they say is hard. I don't do a lot of presenting in front of other teachers, but we do have several staff members who do. Like, on Thursday mornings, we have a few staff members who are training the rest of us on, like, the Google Docs and some different things. And so they're kind of, teaching the teachers. Once in a while, I have to do something for, like, I sponsor the National Honor Society, so I might have to get in front of the teachers for that. And, it's a little bit different. You have to sort of change your approach because you can't just say, hey, be quiet, knock it off. Because they're your peers. It would be weird.
Yeah.
And so you just have to kind of it's a little different to approach it that way.
Yeah.
Because, they're more seasoned. The kids, they don't always know what you're saying or what. So, but you have to change it up a bit.
So my last question is, do you have any advice for me as a young person entering the job market concerning effective communication skills?
It's important. It's very important, and especially for job interviews and things like that. So I think taking the classes that you have to take for your job is going to be good to help you make sure you can communicate as effectively as possible. Let's see. I don't know. I can't think of anything just specific, but just try your best to make sure you're open and they know what you're wanting to say. So
okay. Well, thank you for this interview.
Yes, no
with
problem.
Ms. Tarbell.
Glad to help you.